and my dad is an Asian immigrant, first generation, and, he still votes conservative. I don't think this classification of only white men of a certain pedigree, and it's a large majority, don't get me wrong, but there is still a lot more that I think just doesn't get covered.
I think the 2024 election showed us that. Women did not show up to vote, and if they did, they also voted for Trump just as much as they didn't. So yes, that's a nice stereotype to have, and people like to think it. I mean, I wish I could think it too, but you can't because it's not real.
And then you could say WWJS, which would be, what would Jesus spend? Or where would Jesus spend? You know what I mean?
Do you know where MAGA in history? Do you know where MAGA originally was? Said or heard from? You might have heard it in your AP US history class or something.
Wait, where MAGA came from?
Originally was stated in politics.
If you could have a conversation with a group of people who were supporters of Donald Trump and supporters of the MAGA movement, what would you really want to know from them? And I'm just convince me that I'm wrong. And I so wanted to be convinced that I'm wrong. I'm begging her. So here's a question. Who's MAGA? Who's MAGA? What's the social class of supporters of MAGA?
Social class? Probably say white.
So so racially speaking, mostly white people?
White, I'll say
So the economic class.
Middle, lower class Americans.
Middle, lower class. How do you come to that assessment?
I said in the southern rural area, I'll say middle and lower class. But if we're talking about rich upper Americans, white, rich white men.
Yeah, rich white men. Wait, you're shaking your head.
I agree with the rich white men thing.
Rich white men support.
Not always. My dad doesn't, so good for him.
Your dad. All right, wait, dude. Who's socioeconomic class? Who are the MAGA people?
So in my life and my experience, most of the MAGA people have actually been middle to middle high class. I grew up in a big city, so I definitely know a lot of those. But, going off of my parents as an example, they're both conservatives, and my dad is an Asian immigrant, first generation, and, he still votes conservative. I don't think this classification of only white men of a certain pedigree, and it's a large majority, don't get me wrong, but there is still a lot more that I think just doesn't get covered.
Yeah. Here, wait. Can we look at something here?
Yeah.
Okay, so 15% of adult Americans identify as a MAGA Republican, okay? And then go to the next slide. Of the adult Republicans, about half identify as a MAGA supporter, including, half of 18 to 29-year-olds, which is basically in here, okay? About half. Because we have this idea that young people your age, is we don't support this. So well, no, half actually identify of Republicans identify as MAGA supporters. But here, I want to show you the next one. This is just approving of Trump's job performance, okay? 15% of black people just recently. But of course, we don't know. These are really hard. It's hard to get these data. These are from YouGov. I work really hard. By the way, when I show data in here, you need to know I work really hard to get good data, because if I show data that are not good, like this, I get emails from people that I got to respond to. They're yelling at me and stuff. You're lying to your students. I'm like, oh, shit. So I try to be really fair and honest. Go to the next one, though. But this is one from just in June. This is from this Qantas Insights. Now, I don't know how good these data are, but because, when you're getting approval rating increasingly, it's really difficult. But, bro, 30%, that's 3 out of 10 black people in the U.S. are saying, we support what Trump's doing in late June. And in late June, by the way, he was really getting behind kicking a lot of immigrants out of the country, or undocumented immigrants. But
yeah, that's kind of crazy. I guess it's probably mostly conservative black people who go to church. I say because the black church is very conservative. So I'll say that they definitely.
Do you know that about the black church, man?
I do, yeah.
The most conservative place in America, is a black church on a Sunday morning, man. You know? And what you get in a black church on a Sunday morning is stop complaining and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and don't blame anybody else. You got a problem, it's your problem, and fix it. Which is ironic that we have the idea that black people just sit around and have their hands out waiting for the government to give them something, because that's like the racist trope about black people. But you want conservatism, man, go to a black church on a Sunday morning. Of course, you got to spend like 3 hours there. Dude, am I right? Yeah. But it's fun, man. They'll have a good bass player, good drummer, good organist, and it's like, you'll love it. I mean, you'll have a really good time.
I'm a drummer. The song goes on for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, my arms are tired.
Dude, you're a drummer?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I've always wanted to drum in a black church. Man. God. Dude, do you have any video of you drumming?
I think I do, yeah.
Yeah, send it to me, man. All right.
I got
want
you.
to see that. All right. So anyway, listen. Let me go back. How about men and women? Allie. MAGA.
Yes.
Is it men? Is it women? Like, who's MAGA?
Both, everyone.
Yeah, you think it's a general?
Yeah, I think it can be
You don't think it's more
anyone.
men than women, or?
I mean, I think the 2024 election showed us that. Women did not show up to vote, and if they did, they also voted for Trump just as much as they didn't. So it's yes, that's a nice stereotype to like have, and people like to think it. I mean, I wish I could think it too, but you can't because it's not real.
What do you think that people most misunderstand about MAGA?
What they actually want to have done for the country, probably, in my opinion. Like I don't think that people automatically like want people's lives to be ruined. I don't think that at all, actually. Like, they don't want people's lives to be ruined based on the policies they support.
So like for example, tracking down people who are undocumented and kicking them out of the country, or not letting them get a COVID vaccine, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So they don't want that.
I don't think they completely always understand what it actually is doing to the people.
Okay. Like with the policies of the Democrats.
Correct. I don't think anyone ever really understands, because unless you've devoted your entire life to studying political data, which good for you, that's cool.
Okay, so you think that what's most misunderstood is people have the idea that they're really trying to hurt people. These are really angry people who are mean, and they're trying to hurt people. And you feel like that's not the case.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part.
I mean, there's people in every group.
Okay, I got you.
Like, there's insane people everywhere who
I got you.
on every side of everything.
But across the board.
But like overall, do I agree with what they want? No. But
wait, hang on.
yes.
But there are things that you agree with. If I laid out, if we sat here and had this long conversation about Donald Trump and policies,
right, there are.
I could find
Overall, though, no.
Okay, overall, but that's what's really
Gotta make that
but
clear.
this is complicated, right?
Very. Politics is
okay.
complicated.
Okay.
There's a little bit when I was going to be a poli-sci major. Good reasons why I'm not.
Yeah. Okay, but the idea is you got to vote here, you have to vote here. When you vote for this person, like in this case, let's say you vote for Kamala Harris, you're voting for
I think one of the biggest disservices to our country is, like when you go to vote, when you can vote straight ticket. I think that's one of the biggest disservices to our country.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and so you know that if you vote for her,
right,
and I'm assuming you voted for her.
Sure did.
There, you also voted for a lot of things that you really you would not like. If you knew about it and you thought about it, you'd be like, I don't like that at all.
In my own defense, I did do research. I didn't just vote.
You. No, but there were things.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. By the way, you hear that, right? So this is the idea that you all are much more nuanced than, bro. What do you? And I'm going to come to you. What do you think is most misunderstood about the kind of Trump and MAGA policies and so on?
I think that what gets misunderstood is the idea that America First is not America only. And I say that because, a lot of the policies he has does target, America and its states forwardly, right? And, it opposes, well, in the most part, opposes sending money overseas for wars that we should not be a part of. I think that people don't look at the bigger picture of it's America first until in a lot of conservatives' mind, once the country is at a state in which we can give, then we should. But we can't right now in our situation.
What's that situation?
So with a lot of...
Wait, are you speaking for yourself? You're speaking for MAGA, right?
Yes.
For conservative.
Yes.
Okay. So what do you know to be or think to be that situation?
Well, so in my personal experience, as someone who has lived, in Orlando, hurricanes are a big issue. I remember, earlier, what was it, last year, North Carolina and the flash flooding and everything. The FEMA response was quite weak. Orlando, the city I live in, it flooded for days, and it was hard to get responses. It was hard to get any support before, after, no matter what. We knew it was coming. We knew it would happen, and still nothing. And yet tons of money was still being sent overseas. So I think that a lot of conservatives, including myself in this category, I think that prioritizing the states and the citizens should go above any global wars, any situations like that.
So this would be a perspective from okay, I got it. What percentage of our budget in the U.S. is spent on foreign aid? What do you think? What percentage of our national budget?
I couldn't tell you, off the top of my head. I would say a surprising amount. I'm a poli-sci major myself.
All right.
And I do have something to add to this, if I could.
Yeah, go ahead, but answer this question.
I would guess 30-something%.
All right, man. Hang on. I'll come back to you. What do you think?
How much we're spending?
What percentage of our national budget do we spend? So we collect all of our taxes and we divide it out and we spend it. What percent do we send overseas for foreign aid?
Foreign aid. I'd actually say it's a shockingly small percent toward foreign aid. Not that small. I'd say maybe about 10%, 10-13%.
All right. Who wants to take, bro? You want to take a shot at it? No, hang on. We need a woman. How about you? Go ahead. What do you think?
I also don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to have to say middle ground between those two answers.
Yeah? All right. 20, that would be, dude, I'm not a math major. Wait, where's my Korean math genius? All right. All right, that'd be about 22. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 1 to 1.5% of our national budget.
Yeah, you got it. It's about 1%. Which means so I'm only responding to that. To any of the MAGA people in here, anyone or who's watching, who would make that particular argument, which I think is a fair argument. Make America, take care of your own people before you take care of other people, right? But we only spend, it's a little bit less than 1% on foreign aid. And so that's just something to think about, right? So what would you say when you are in conversation with people who are saying that? What would you say to them?
Yeah, no, I figured it was a smaller number, but still, that number isn't zero, and not that it should be zero. We provide medical supplies, we supply ammunition, we supply so much across the world. But when there are people in North Carolina whose entire livelihoods are destroyed, and they're getting, 30 something. I don't remember the exact numbers. Yeah. They're not getting a ton of money a day. Their whole livelihood was ruined. We should dial it back just some more. Give to them first, in my opinion.
Well, okay, that's fair. I want to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
Just again to MAGA people. I just want to throw this out there to you all. To the Christians, Muslims, and Jews who believe in really a singular God. You're all children of the same God, man. Doesn't matter whether you're giving money to Sudan or Ethiopia or Mexico or wherever, you're still children of the same God. So hang on, I'm going to give you something you can say to them, all right? And then you could say like WWJS, which would be, what would Jesus spend? Or where would Jesus spend? You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of funny, right? We have this nationalism thing, and like, it's fair. Like, okay, make America, it's America. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know. What's God saying? That's a thought, you know? What's God saying? Oh, God's kind of a serious, I don't know. God's an important person to bring into this conversation. Well, God's a person. She really is. She's really important here. I'm an atheist. But still, I think God should be welcome at the table when we're deciding where we're going to spend money. You know what I mean? I'm also curious, people watching the stream, I know that you're lighting up the chat with something right now. And so, Jeff, I'm really curious about what that is, man. All right. Wait, hang on one second.
So one thing I was curious about, since we were kind of talking about like the specific FEMA example, what are your thoughts on the fact that Trump has been cutting a lot of funding to those programs? Like FEMA in particular is one he has covered, who he has targeted specifically for funding cuts.
All right. So hang on. Well, that's a really good. That's a good. What would you say then to people who said like, yeah, we should spend money here, and he's saying like, yeah, but isn't the Trump administration? Wait, hang on. Actually, not you three, because unless you can make it, who's a MAGA person in here? Who's like a really strong Trump supporter that could respond? Anyone want to respond to that? Anyone? Nobody? You don't want to respond? All right. Anyway.
Do you know where MAGA in history? Do you know where MAGA originally was? Said or heard from? You might have heard it in like your AP US history class or something.
Wait, where MAGA came from?
Like originally was stated in politics. Where MAGA was originally stated.
Where it was originally stated in politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that. Wait, do you?
Yeah.
I know too.
I gotta think it's like the 18th century. Probably.
Not quite that long.
Now go ahead.
Wasn't it Ronald Reagan? Make America Great? Yeah.
In the 80s.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
How do I not know that? If you could have a conversation with a group of people who were supporters of Donald Trump and supporters of the MAGA movement, what would you really want to know from them in order to feel like you were what would you really want to know from them?
I would want to know like what they believe makes Trump a good president, because like the policies that I see right now, it hasn't really affected, well, for the most part, them personally, because I don't know how like.
Have they affected you?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
How?
My internship got cut because of the DEI removals and rollbacks. So.
All right. So your internship got cut. All right. May be a good thing. You don't know.
Yeah, because with how Washington is right now, I don't know if I wanted to go. It was in Washington, D.C.
Dude, you might have gone to Washington and got run over by a subway car. You know what I mean? Like, you never know if it's good or bad. You don't know if you don't know if the path is good or bad for you. But okay, so it affected you. So you want to know, like, tell me what you want to know again, like how.
Like, what makes Trump a good president for you? Personally.
For you personally.
Because like the policies that he's doing right now, because I don't know if an undocumented immigrant like harmed you or a trans person harmed you.
Okay.
So that's what I would want to know.
Okay, that's a good question, right? Is that a good question? Like if you're like that's a good question. If I were a person who was really strongly supporting the president and so on, I'd really want to answer that question for you. Yeah, that's a fair question. How about you? What's a question that
I've always, like, specifically with MAGA, not necessarily Trump supporters, because, again, in my mind, in my opinion, they are separate.
Okay, I got it.
But, like, especially with MAGA people, okay, so it's Make America Great Again. when was America great? What has changed to make it not great? And in your opinion, right, why is Trump the one that's going to get us back to quote unquote greatness?
How is it that he's going to do that?
Right.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think that, what's your gut feeling just on this?
Okay.
The question I'm going to ask. Do you think that, because I could give you an answer
Right.
to those questions, because I can make a really strong argument.
Yeah.
But is there an answer that somebody could give you that you would say, yeah, that's cool. That makes sense to me. That's cool. That makes sense.
Are you saying, is there an answer that they could give me that I would be like, you know what? Yes, I agree. Donald J. Trump, he's the answer.
No, not that. Just enough that you would say,
I understand their logic.
yeah, I understand that, and that makes a lot of sense. And
Well,
okay,
like-
I'm not necessarily gonna. Here's a line up here. If you
No,
can see
right.
it. I'm not gonna cross over the line, but I'll stand on the line because, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Like, no. Like, I can understand answers where they would be like, I understand with you and your upbringing and your education, potentially lack thereof, your experiences, potentially lack thereof experiences, would lead you to understand that, would lead you to think that.
Okay, so here I have a question for you.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
lack, if you under. Here.
Yeah.
Here, just here's the line.
Do I have
Right
to
here.
stand?
Hop up
Okay.
Right here, yep.
Yep.
So if you stepped over here.
Oh, okay.
So if you and I got together
Right.
for spend a day together, a couple days,
Yeah,
a weekend.
sure.
And I just walked you through all sorts of stuff, and I brought you to this side of the line. What I'd be saying to you is, hey, step back over here. When you were over here,
Yep.
what you lacked
Right.
was the education or vision or knowledge that you needed that was on this side of the line, so step back over.
Okay.
And I gave it to you, and you're like, oh, yeah, I just lacked that education. I lacked that knowledge. Because
I'm confused.
here's the deal. Wait, here, you can sit back down again.
Okay, thanks.
I know, so
Yeah.
I know some really smart, thoughtful, and interesting supporters of the MAGA movement.
Yeah, me too.
Really, okay.
That was more of a generalized statement.
No, I got you. Okay, so then what I'm going to say is like, it's really, you got to step on this side of the line.
Right. Put
and
yourself
say, like,
in their shoes.
No. Keep yourself in your
Right.
shoes and say, I really lack the understanding and the education I need to see those really smart things that those people are seeing.
Right, yeah.
No, it's more than right.
Right,
It's like,
I'm confused. Okay.
No, you get that, right? I think you're
Right.
on the hot seat right now.
Yes.
Do you feel like you're on the hot
a
seat?
little bit now, but it's okay. I don't mind.
No, that's good.
That's what I signed up for.
You understand that what you need, where I want you to get to
Right.
is to look in a mirror and say, damn, I lack the education I need.
Right.
Because if I were smarter, I'd be able to make a really, really good argument for the MAGA movement and Donald Trump. Because that's intellect. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think like base knowledge, yes. But again, like with my own personal like values and experiences, I'd have to like obviously set those aside.
We know you want to transform them. You want to change them. You don't want to be, dude. You're not going to get smarter, dude. You will never get smarter and more intellectual if you don't change
The way you think, yeah.
the way you think. So you want to set it aside. You want to not just set it aside. Like I'm going to set it aside right now, and I'm going to be like, just for a moment, I'm going to like pretend or something. No, you want to change, man. You want to be able to. I'll tell you what. When I every day. I wake up and I try to make an argument for something that I really strongly disagree with. And the closer I get to making a really good argument, the smarter I know I am. And when I take something that I'll give you something that I disagree with 100%. Female genital mutilation. There's nothing in female genital mutilation. There's nothing, period, zero. No, bro, hang on. Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah. There's nothing at all ever. It's like I am zero. I'm 100% closed off to any argument whatsoever. Okay. So I had a woman reach out to me, and she's a FGM activist who supports it. She's African, right? She reached out to me. And we had this long emails back and forth, like boom, 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 boom. And I'm just like, convince me that I'm wrong. And I so wanted to be convinced that I'm wrong. I'm like begging her, convince me I'm wrong. And I knew that if I could get her to convince me that I was wrong, not that it was a good thing, but just that it's not always bad. You got it, right? It's not always bad. This is not like, oh yeah, I'm a female genital mutilation supporter now. Not that. Just like, I knew that if I could get her to do that, I would be so much smarter. And she never did. And to this day, I still don't know if I'm just don't get it, or if it truly is something that I'm just like, no, there's no way.